Hey everyone, this is going to be Jay Slater part 4. I'm going to focus on the GoFundMe, and there's going to be a bit of a card pull, but I really wanted to discuss this because I feel the cards are going to say and line up with me, but there's an element of greed here. But more so than that, I ask, have you, whoever's donated or anyone, been sucked up in this energetic vacuum? Because I think a lot of people, once this is over, are going to be like, what on earth did I just donate towards? Like, not that they think it's a spam or something like that, but more so, wow, I donated and I wasn't even thinking. Do you know that kind of feeling? So there's this kind of energetic suction and frenzy on this case, and everyone's distracted. Not when I say you, I'm not pointing fingers, but everyone is so distracted. What else is happening around the world, and what else is happening within your country, which is probably the UK, that you're being distracted from? Whether it's the reform, whether it's the elections, whether it's policies being created behind the scenes, whether it's policies being put out and we're just not really paying attention right now. We just need to be, some people are not really gonna align with this. And on this channel, we don't have to align, but it's about constructive feedback and opinions together. I also don't need people coming on the channel to flex their skills or try and make themselves something. Create your own channel. Anyone who is a subscriber or who leaves a great comment or a comment in a constructive way, I always take the time to answer. And that is actually additional energy from me. But I think everyone, there's a give and take. And on the platform, I don't get anything back. But kindness, and even if you don't agree with some of my thoughts, but you're able to... So I'll give you an example. The Karen Reid case, there's two different boats or ships on what they think happened, and you cannot have someone in the comment that agrees with the other person. They just cannot. It's kind of like it goes into a fight. But why can't you just, okay, that's the way I see it, but I see it my way? You can stay stubborn on your thoughts, but you don't have to get into a clash. And I see this a lot, and we're still not at a level where we can sit at the same table. I feel like on this channel, and that's why there's probably not a lot of subscribers. By the way, I think I had a comment that someone might have thought that I began my channel many, many years ago, because sometimes when you sign up to YouTube, if you haven't created the channel, you might not have created the channel, which was the fact for me. So but my channel's like 2 years old, and it's diverted in terms of content. But I know that the first content that I used to put out, and with the tarot readings, I know what people kind of want now. But some of it's been very sensitive, and the content and the names of those cases kind of don't get put so much in the algorithm. So if you're liking the content, subscribe. You're welcome to like, comment, you can share. And also there's a super thanks button for energy give back. I'm getting the buy me a coffee link, but there's a PayPal donation and the super thanks. So we've had this ex-detective Mark, who's arrived in Tenerife, who as soon as he arrived, he decided to give a threatening undertone to the two Brit men that were in Tenerife, that are in London, not in London, sorry, are in England somewhere. I don't really know. You probably know because you're following the news. So he flew out to Tenerife he obviously, as a Brit, has access to all the mainstream media, access in terms of language as well, where the police, the Spanish police, have kept things, their cards close to them. So as soon as he makes any announcement with the access to all the journalism, journalists and mass media, it looks like he's made progress. But in fact, all he did is he arrived there and he said, if you don't come forward, or like come forward or else. So you flew to Tenerife to make that undertone threat, and it was an undertone threat. Like if that was me, okay, you don't know if these people are guilty, forget my psychic reads at the moment, or if they were up to no good, or if Jay was or whatever, I would not be pleased with that. I'd probably go into the media and say something back. I don't think he had a right to do that, or else what are you going to do? Because you can't do anything. In fact, you shouldn't be talking like that. And I think he said by day 3 he would get Jay. Is this the 3rd day? Today we also at 10 a.m. UK time, 9 a.m. Spanish time, they kicked off a new strategy search, and I think I took notes so that I know what I'm saying. It's a more finer one, and it covers Masca, and it's kind of like a broad trail of Masca, and it's a hiking area which also goes through Masca Gorge and leads down towards a beach front, which I think is a good idea, because I think it also circumferences, which I was saying they need to circumference. And also I think there might be some caves and hidden shelters, and we know that in my reading I got he headed towards to try and get some water. Whether he did or not, we could see water being significant, and I could see in one of the cards that he actually did get to water, but whether it was a metaphor that he did or didn't, I stand by that. He wasn't doing too great. I think in the beginning he wasn't panicking, but then he was not in a very good condition. I do think he was taken and held then. I don't think it was kidnapping, or it could be kidnapping, but I'm not really happy with saying that. Time wore off, and he time went on. Interesting, I say wore off, and things were not progressing in the way they wanted. And I don't see a older couple with a farm that some people keep saying about psychics. And please don't mention a psychic channel on this channel. I don't want another channel to be upset or anything like that. You can say you've seen another reader's thing, but I also would like for you to respect this channel and other people's channels. So you can mention that you've seen another psychic read, because I won't have seen it. You can mention, you know, you've seen something that aligns similar, but please don't mention by name, because we don't want anyone, you know, getting upset. Or we understand things in our own way, and sometimes it might not be the way it's delivered or meant to be delivered. And that's why sometimes I can be a bit, when I've done a channeling especially, I try to explain it the best I can, and often I think that I've not explained it enough, and I go back and I try and watch and I find that I have explained it. Just before I forget, I do get the name Ray. I know it's very similar to Jay, but I get the name Ray, or the word Ray is going to connect to something, or it might come up. So that search might fine tune it. Now, I did mention certain dates. I mentioned a certain number that's significant in the previous reads. If you're not seeing 1 to 3, just have a go and look at them. I do stand by that there's intoxication involved, those kind of things. I do think that there is a bit of a weird dynamic in terms of that Airbnb that he visited. I don't think he realized how far it was, but I do think it was, there was more to it than come and chill. Like, whether it was to set up and get stash of stuff. I don't know the ages of these people, but I think there's something around the ages. We got in the first read that there is a bit of a heartbreak that Jay was going through. I do see that there was a conflict that night. There was an argument, there was a conflict. I got that in the cards, and we mentioned that as well. So that's still something that needs to come up. That's something that's not being said about. I don't think it links to necessarily the case, but I'm just saying in terms of stuff that's not being said. I've mentioned his phone, and still his phone has got something more. I'm not just talking about contacts at his phone. I think that is there, but I don't think that's what I'm indicating. I'm indicating that there's something more around the story around his phone, and there could be something that is pinged in an additional location, maybe nearby, not only when he spoke to Lucy. Now, I understand that Brad has come forward 12 days later and he's said what he said. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he maybe was frightened at how big this case got, and so it wasn't something that he wanted to come forward, especially after he saw what happened with Lucy. And disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes, you only use your own fact finding. There's going to be a lot more coming out, and I mentioned there's going to be, you might hear stories or psychics or podcasters that say Riley Strain, Riley Strain. There's going to be that comparison. I felt it in the energy when I mentioned in the last read that it was coming up. So it'll be interesting to know if you're starting to see that. So there was that argument, and after he was let go and kind of just, he kind of stumbled away because he wasn't in the fittest way. And also, if you go to part 3 in the read, there's a person, I won't mention the username, just the username is there, but I'll just leave it out. He mentioned what he saw. Now with me, I did a channeling on the 27th of a victim of a case, and I can't sit and channel everyone. There's a difference between providing a service and, you know, a client coming for a payment and stuff like that, as opposed to keep channeling everyone's energy in further depth, like sitting and actually seeing his injuries and his exact pinpoint location. So I responded to that one, and I also mentioned what I was seeing in terms of even when I was setting up the camera, thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm quite spontaneous. I don't necessarily, I mean, to have this noted is because I know I'm going to go all over the place, but usually I'll just come in and I do my read straight away. I don't sit and do a read at the back or necessarily meditate. I just start. So if it's like for YouTube and stuff. So I do think that he, and like I said, there was shelters, there's shelters significant, a church was significant. It doesn't have to be a home, but like a building or a shelter significant. He stumbled away. This was I don't think the in-between is going to be fully known, and I don't think people are going to be happy with the outcome. But I also can tell you that a lot of what has happened is down to Jay's decision making, but there is things that's happened in the meantime that hasn't added to the demise, but has added to the context of the story. And I feel like with what we got in the water, he has headed towards water. So wherever they stand, they can see water or something, whether it's the beach or some kind of water. That is significant, I feel, but it's not, there's still barren land, basically. Possible undercover stuff that we don't know of, an involvement, the communication, like I said, now Brad's come out, which indicates more communication around the phone that happened, but I think there's something more. I think, like I said, there's been an additional ping, whether he put it on, it pinged, whether it was, I mean, it could link to now Brad coming forward, that additional ping. I wonder if he tried to also give his phone to someone to charge. But what we know from Brad is that he was, what I don't know from Brad is what time that call was. So if you know what time it was, drop it in the notes, because I think the call with Brad was prior to the call with Lucy, and I might be wrong. So Brad happened to say, and I'm going to try and put the clip in at the beginning, but I'm sure you've all seen it, that he was all right, and it was not word for word, okay. So they were buzzing, they got out the festival, and he could hear him stumbling on rocks, which we know from the reads he went off track. And again, Spirit is reminding me the name Ray. As I said, reads, Spirit is reminding me the word or the name Ray. So that's going to be interesting to see what it connects to, what it comes up. And this is what happens when things come in between. Hang on a sec. Yeah, so that he could kind of hear him stumbling down on rocks. And one element that indicates he didn't really remember or realize how far he was is they had a discussion. He looked at his location and it was a 14-hour walk. And I don't know, I mean, I hear a 15-minute cab drive, but a 14-hour walk and 15-minute cab drive sound a bit too distant. Whether he meant 50, and I didn't quite grab his accent. Anyway, so Jay was aware at that time that it was a 14-hour walk. He wouldn't be able to make it. So I doubt he would have tried to go for that walk, right? Although people seem to think he might have tried to walk, or some people might. I don't think he would. Again, one of the things that I mentioned in the last read that's been a problem is like Brad's not said stuff. The demeanor, whole demeanor of Jay, how was he? Was he okay? And that's kind of come through with Brad. Yeah, he was all right. We're like, you know, I guess it was kind of like they were buzzing after the festival. And he wasn't panicking in terms of being that far away. And it seemed like it was resolvable by getting a cab. But then there was no answer to that, and apparently he needed to close the line because he got another line. Also, by that time, having a video call was probably a stupid idea when you probably are low on battery by that time. Now, the other thing, the Spanish lady, apparently he asked the Spanish lady the time and she did like that. So if he thought it was in 10 minutes, I presume he would have tried to stay near the bus stop. So he might have, what did he think it was? I mean, 2 hours gap, I presume he would have thought it's around 10 o'clock. 10 minutes, I don't think he's going to be like, I don't think he's not going to wait. If he thought it's at 10 o'clock and that's what he understood, he might have been like, oh, I may as well walk to the next bus stop, which some of us do. And it might be like, if I walk towards the next bus stop or what looks like more of a marking of a town or a station, I can get an additional bus. So in England, and it's probably all over the place, but I can't mention all over the place. You'll live down a street and there might be 1 or 2 buses, irregular or whatever, but if you walk down the main street, then you might get 5 buses every 10-15 minutes, and so it's maybe worth doing that. I do think that as he was taking these calls, despite also he's thirsty, he's intoxicated, he's probably not in the best frame of mind. I feel like there's a bit of like, I can make it invincible kind of immortal type thing energy, which there is at that late teens. He's not fully concentrating because he's taking calls and he's talking. What's not clear is that he then got a call. Who was that? Was that Lucy around the 8:30? That is again missing information. But I do like, just recapping, there was an argument. So whether there's going to be something on surveillance, whether there's going to be someone who comes forward, there was an argument. And also there's probably going to be a lot of things that might be interconnects that are not connected to his case that might come up as questioning to be investigated if Jay was involved or they were involved. I wonder if he had a girlfriend and he broke up for his girlfriend. So this was kind of like, yeah, go to Tenerife, you'll have a lot more fun, etc. I do believe that from the 23rd really stands out in terms of Jay's energy. If you're aware of the way I read, you probably understand what I'm saying in context with the previous reads as well. There is lies and hidden stuff still, and like I said, today's thing, I don't think it's going to be today he'll be found. I've got certain dates, but I do think like he might have headed like to a pinpoint that might be marked a bit bigger than Masca, and he thought I may as well head that way. I wonder as well, I replied in a note, if during the days that were there was any drizzle or rain, which would have made things a bit slippier. I know it's hot and probably humid, because I see him with the humid getting frustrated. Like, he's not in panic at first, but then as time goes on, there's frustration, there's anger. The cactus scratch or prickle, and I think it's more than a prickle, was really frustrating in like a lingering burning sting. I see also that he had something near his face buzzing, a bit itchy, and he'd waft it, and it just, you know when something's persistent. But then also when he was later on after the events that occurred, he would protect his face, and there was a scratch on his nose, and there was something again buzzing, and yeah, he'd protected his face. So let's go back to this. So we've got this detective that is probably flexing a little bit. You know what's interesting when I think of the GoFundMe? So the GoFundMe, in these large cases, what comes is the beast as well as the beauty of having the coverage that puts pressure on the police, because at certain stages they need to pull back all their forces. The other thing is, I think they've done this, and they've probably asked for more forces, because as much as they search one area and they have drones in another area, if the drone doesn't pick up on anything, I think they need to go by man foot, because I think it's just such a difficult area to 100% rely on a drone, with the shrubs, the rocks, the different, it's kind of like a mix. I've not been there, I don't know. It's kind of like a mixed landscape where there could be mud, there's rocks, there's shrubs, there's like you might find like shrubs, stuff that you might see, foliage that you might see in different countries, but then you have cactus that, you know, usually you refer to as desert. So it's kind of that kind of environment I get. And obviously there's the not valleys, like ravines. So that's interesting. But then you get obviously the toxicity of the media and some clickbait, and also people that just are in it for their own selfishness. So there's the devil with it that comes. And so I can understand the family, and I've always advocated for kindness because they are going through something. But I can't help that there is an element of greed when setting up this amount. So what do I mean? What do I need? I need three crystals, okay? And then someone comes along and says, you know what, I'll buy you these crystals today. This is your treat, I'll buy you crystals, you don't need to. But then I suddenly go around and I'm like, you know what, I'll have an extra 3, and I go to the counter and put all 6 there. So, but I only needed 3 for, let's say, this healing session that I was doing, a special healing session for someone. I only needed 3 additional crystals, specific crystals. I decided to top up my crystal collection because someone said they would treat me. And what I remembered from the previous reads is the 10 of Cups and the Judgment card. So for me, there's going to be an element of a realization and understand it in a different context to what you're probably going to think about it straight away in defense mechanism of this, right? the additional, and we all have it in us as humans, we do have that element of greed. Some of us catch ourselves before we go into it, and some of us don't catch ourselves. And so let's just say this person that's had the crystals, a treat to the crystals, they do that one session with a special client. Well, then suddenly there's no second client coming in. And they sit there and things are stalled for them, and they're kind of like, you know what, I didn't need the extra 3. I'm not happy I've got this extra 3 here. And I would never have traded the energy of having an open door of additional clients for the extra 3. I'm not sure if this is getting the point across, but I think there's been greed in terms of setting up that amount and continuing to accept. But then people have gone bonkers, and I don't understand why they're energetically sucked into it. Why do I bring this up? Because yes, people are going to ask, but a lot of people are not asking. Someone made a valid point that they've probably got more donations directly, which I believe so, because if you've got a name, you're famous, or you're part of a I can't get the word out, but a higher level working class, sometimes your surname, people would know your surname, is linked to aristocrat level. So there's outraging of trolls, I can understand it, but then when I look at this energy of the GoFundMe, it was at 41,500 yesterday. So it's gone more. And now they're asking to plant money to fly out people and friends. I don't know, if I donated, I'd be pissed off. There's no need to fly out an ex-girlfriend. There's no need to fly out friends of Jay's. And are all these people going to be searching for Jay? I doubt the police want anyone else who's not trained in those areas searching for Jay, and I don't think they do. But I'm not going to say there's no need to fly out people for a holiday. It's not a holiday time. But what do you think? I just think it's crazy. You need to account for repatriation. You need to account for you're not staying in the Sixth Sense or Hilton for a year. You don't need every single family member, neighbour, ex-girlfriend and friends to come out. It's not a bloody holiday. And focus with limited people around. So the police are also focused on finding Jay. I can't believe what I heard. Can I pull out some money so that they can fly out extended family, friends, a neighbour? I heard today probably an ex-girlfriend. What is all that? And I know that some of that might just be hearsay, but some of that has actually been said. So, and obviously we got in my first read that the mum was not doing well. She was having sleepless nights. She probably wasn't looking after herself. And I think she said that in the news. But then she's also said that I'm down to 18 stone or something like that. I'm not sure if adding that additional line really gets you additional sympathy. Just because people won't take it that, you know, you've lost X amount of weight in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. It will be looking at the figure, and there's no need to really probably state it. I don't think that is a good buy-in. And then you've got that ex-detective. A reward should have put out. And why has a reward not been put out till now? Like that just baffles me. Why has a reward not been put out? You've got all this money. Why don't you also hire maybe, talk to them and say, can I get some additional maybe private troopers or something like that are trained in this? Can we get posters? I know the father's been posting stuff. Can we get flyers sent out? Can we do a banner of an advertisement? I've not seen any of that. I have not seen any of that. And so it just, people can question. Some people are not questioning and they're just donating. And at the end of this, they're going to sit on that sofa and be like, did I just lose my mind? What did I just do? Do you know when you don't think and you do something? So I just have to say stuff. I come from a heart-centered place when I say this. There is that element of there's an element of, what on earth are you doing? Let's see the energy around the GoFundMe. Okay, let's see the energy around the GoFundMe. I think I covered everything. Let's see the energy. So today it's going to be interesting to see. Let's see the energy. I just saw the 9 of Cups, which is a smug person sat with 9 cups, really happy with themselves. The energy around the GoFundMe. Let's see. The energy around the GoFundMe. So we've got the 8 of Wands, we've got the Death card, we've got the 7 of Wands, we've got the 2 of Wands, we've got the Hermit. This tells me that the GoFundMe was set up announcing Jay, but it was kind of like announcing it as if they thought that the intention behind the communication is Jay is no longer with us. So I don't know if they mentioned even about the repatriation, but there was an inkling there. Although there is a clip of his mother, and I wanted to add it in this, but I might not just have time, where she starts, the first interview I think it is, where she says he's got himself into trouble or something around those lines. And that sentence meant so much. I think Jay gets himself into a lot of trouble. Like, he's easily swayed. He is someone who is probably is a handful. But you know, underneath that, I think he has a lot of water in his chart, a lot of emotion, but he has this outer shell that is kind of like, why is the word vulgar coming through? The word vulgar is coming through. And he's young and he's easily led. Even if it's something that's a bad idea, like, shall we run after this guy? He looks like we can knock him down really fast and we can probably take the Snickers out of his hand. We don't really need it, we'll just throw it. And it'll just be fun to see him try and get up again. Do you know those stupid things? And he'll be like, yeah, let's do it. And then he's already there before the person that had the idea. That kind of kid is just like, that's the kind of energy I get of him. But underneath that, I think he's I don't get the word caring, but there's a lot of emotions. And I think he's got water in his chart. We've got the 7 of Wands and the 2 of Wands here as well. So not putting your boundaries up in the right place, and not and probably opening yourself up a little bit too much. And then we've got the 2 of Wands and the Hermit, which is to search for Jay. So there's behind the energy of the communication, there is something that was giving off that there was a thought that there might be needed money for if he has passed, so maybe the repatriation. And then there's this energy of the 2 of Wands and the Hermit, which is actually to actually search for Jay. Thinking he's in the mountains. And also the thought of travel and accommodation. But they had already travelled out, hadn't they? With that 2 of Wands. I think the 7 of Wands here that I see in reverse is really, really interesting. Because it's about the obstacles that are in front of them to find him. Let's go more. So they're kind of things that we kind of know. So let's see what Spirit also says, the energy behind setting up the GoFundMe then. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy the things on the channel. You know, feeling a bit overburdened, a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, having a plan in place, a practical plan it's kind of like not a plan, it's kind of like a bit of a long-term plan. So this is not just immediate plan, this is a long-term plan. I said a bit of, So the reason I say this is because I'm also getting that there is possibly debt owned, and some of that will go towards debt owned, whether it's Jay owned something or there's debt owed, but it's nothing to do with finding Jay, right? I don't know why I want to say Ray again. So long-term practical plan, and then I got the Devil card. So it was set up for the mother. It was hopefully set up to obviously bring a change in this card. So a change for the better. But it was also set up without seeing very clearly. And there's something around it that is a crossroads. And there's going to be challenging decisions around this as well. So I'm getting future energy as well. And with this, what I'm seeing is, like I said, there is a bit of possibly greed. I do think that there's a little bit of debt. And it's interesting, I always get his mother's presence in the energy here, which I think it was set up for his mother to receive it. But there is going to be an extremely challenging decision to make. And behind that decision, there's a little bit of resentment. And this is maybe where I mentioned not all money is happy money. There's a little bit of fear about this as well. So I wonder. And then this card is dropped out. To move forward, okay, moving forward. It could be to travel back as well. So the Ten of Cups comes out to try and get the reunion of the happy family. But the ending is not going to be that happy family moment. Or someone's going to be very dissatisfied with the end result. We've got someone who does find there is victory behind this GoFundMe for someone here. This is also all the attention that it's getting at the moment. The secret dynamic behind the GoFundMe is not known. There's a veil. And we've got the Hierophant in reverse. Abuse of being able to obtain this. And also possibly going towards, like I said, it could be some money that is even requested of Jay. But there's not taking the higher moral ground here. With something that we don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's not going to go towards Jay. I just think there's an element here of oversizing it. I hope you understand, because I don't necessarily like to put out stuff, but I just, at the same time, when I do my readings, I'm not just psychically channeling. I'm a realist, so I will also discuss facts. I'm interested to get this out and see what we get. What card do we get? Cultivate love. Everessence, cultivate love. It's a number 5 as well. So I've been getting 5. That is very significant. It's about the change that happens in the dynamic and really finding the cultivation of love. Let me just see what I can find, see what they say additionally on this card. Let me just, I do think, you know, the woman on here is not looking very, like she can see, I feel this block. Like, can you see? So I think it's about the way forward is really about being from a heart-centered, loving place and not being blocked by stuff. Probably not being blocked by, you know what I said here, not seeing clearly, making a wrong decision. There's going to be a very challenging decision around this GoFundMe that will come forward. And there's possibly a bit of loneliness with this card, like feeling a bit lonely at this moment in time. A bit delusioned by the GoFundMe and the whole purpose of the GoFundMe being solely focused on what it should be for the loved one. I just feel like it's a metamorphosis as well. So I think, like I said, people are going to just sit there and think, did I do the right thing by this? Did I cultivate this from a place of love? Or am I left with this, what I'm in, and actually it doesn't give me that fulfillment of love, even though I know that I would never have traded what I got through the GoFundMe or where I'm sat right now if I could have what the person back, for example. But there's that little energy behind it. So I'm not in no way comparison that this GoFundMe has been set up as a better option as opposed to having this teen back. No. But do you see what I'm saying? There's a loss of translation and there's a loss of seeing things. I mean, if you're able to get 40k from people and they're just willingly giving to you, I can see why you would do it. But I think there's going to be, and we all learn lessons every day, and I think that's what's going to come through. But let's just see a minute. Love is bounding, blooming and blossoming around you. The energy of new love helps all things grow, not just relationships. The potential for love is limitless. All blocks and obstacles are about to be lifted, so a way can be cleared. If you have drawn this card at the time, you might be a bit delusioned by love. You might be alone. It is a sign to cultivate love in areas and in order to infuse a rid part of your life with nourishing passion. And I think this is a message for us all as well, and probably trolls. The maiden contemplates the beauty of her life with the white dress that donates beauty, purity. It's the hem that's dipped in violet, which I can't see here, okay, which confers spiritual alignment. The green hose of spring and newness form a halo of light around her as she starts to grow. So can you see a bit of a key opening energy? But a bit of secrecy around this, not acting from your higher self. Possibly some money owed to, I've mentioned debt, but I think there's something a little bit more like underground, or there's been communication of abuse of power, not from them, but maybe, I wonder if they've also had threats, by the way, you know, in terms of your son owes me this much for this, and so I think that kind of stuff. And don't forget, I mentioned, I think people were waiting on a reward, but this is the GoFundMe energy, but it can all interlink as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let's see what comes up later. By the time you see this, I mean, I've not heard the news today. I just heard that Brad has spoken yesterday. There might be some new news. I'm sure you're all following it, but I hope you have a lovely night, evening. Some of you are hooked on it and probably watching everything, and if it's not draining you, great, but if you're starting to get drained, step away from it. It's hard because you will be vacuumed into the energy, but do try to bring yourself back and intentionally step away from it. So everyone, have a lovely evening, morning or afternoon. Whenever you see this, take care and bye for now.